Never start what you can't finish. Think about that for a moment. Most people start too much. Too many projects. Too many commitments. Too many promises. And too little follow-through. They get excited in the beginning. But excitement without endurance is just noise. Starting is easy. Finishing is rare. And here's the truth. The world doesn't pay for almost. It rewards completion. It celebrates those who cross the finish line. You don't get a trophy for trying. You get it for finishing. So before you begin anything, ask yourself, am I willing to see this through? Am I prepared to push past the boredom, the doubt, the fatigue until it's done? Because here's the secret. Success isn't about how many things you start. It's about how many things you finish. Today, we're going to talk about the discipline of finishing, why it matters, how to build it, and how this one principle can change your entire life. You've seen it happen before. Someone gets excited about a new project. They buy the books. They get the tools. They talk to everyone about it. They're fired up. And then, nothing. The energy fades. The tools gather dust. The books remain unread. The dream quietly slips away. Starting is exciting. It's fresh. It's fun. It feels like progress. But here's the hard truth. Starting is only the first step. Finishing is what changes your life. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I had an idea for a small business. I spent weeks researching. I designed a logo. I made a plan. I told my friends, this is it. This is going to be big. And then I stopped. Not because it was impossible, not because it was a bad idea, but because the newness wore off. It wasn't exciting anymore. It became work. And I convinced myself, maybe I'll get back to it later. I never did. And for years, I carried that quiet regret. Not because the business failed, but because I never gave it the chance to succeed. Here's why starting without finishing is dangerous. It trains your brain to be comfortable with incompletion. Every time you quit halfway, you're telling yourself, it's okay to leave things undone. That habit bleeds into everything. Your work, your goals, your relationships. It also robs you of the most valuable part of any journey, the transformation that happens in the grind. You see, the middle is where the magic is. Not at the start when it's easy, not at the end when you're celebrating, but in the long, unglamorous stretch where you show up every day, even when you don't feel like it. That's where discipline is built. That's where resilience is forged. That's where you stop being the person who wants success and become the person who earns it. When you quit before you finish, you cheat yourself out of that transformation. You stay the same person, just with another unfinished project to add to the pile. And there's another cost, one most people never think about, your reputation with yourself. Every time you start and don't finish, you weaken your self-trust. You become less confident in your own word. You tell yourself, I'll do it. But deep down, you know, you probably won't. And that's dangerous, because belief in yourself is the foundation of everything. If you can't trust yourself to finish the small things, how will you trust yourself to tackle the big ones? The truth is, anyone can start. Millions do every day. The world is full of half-written books, half-built businesses, half-finished dreams. But the people who win, the people who change their lives, are the ones who keep going. When the excitement fades, they know the first step doesn't count, unless you take the last one too. Think about the difference between a runner who starts a marathon but quits at mile 20 and the one who pushes through the last painful 6.2 miles. One gets a good try. The other gets a medal. The same principle applies to everything in life. Here's the truth you need to remember. Finishing is a skill. It's something you can train. It starts with small wins. Completing little tasks, closing loops, honoring commitments you make to yourself. It grows when you stop chasing every new idea and instead double down on what you've already begun. And here's the good news. When you become a finisher, your life changes fast. Because the world is full of starters, but finishers are rare. And rare is valuable. Rare gets noticed. Rare gets rewarded. So the next time you feel the urge to quit, remember this. It's not just about this project. It's about the kind of person you're becoming. You can be the person who starts things, or you can be the person who finishes them. One will leave you with a lifetime of what ifs. The other will leave you with a life you're proud of. And the choice, every single time, is yours. Quitting is easy. It doesn't take effort. It doesn't take courage. It doesn't take discipline. But pushing through, that's a different story. That's where the winners separate themselves from everyone else. Here's the truth. Every great achievement you admire, every person you look up to, every success story that inspires you, all of them had moments when they wanted to quit. But they didn't. It's not about never feeling like giving up. It's about what you do when you feel that way. That's the real test. Because there will be days when the work feels endless, when the results don't show up, when you question yourself, when it feels like you're pouring your heart into something and no one notices. That's the moment you'll hear that little voice. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe you should stop. Maybe this isn't for you. And in that exact moment, you have a choice: to listen to it or to fight it. Here's what I've learned. The desire to quit is not a sign you're on the wrong path. It's a sign you're on the real path. The path where growth happens. The path where you're stretching beyond your comfort zone. The problem is, most people see that discomfort as a wall. They hit it and turn back. But winners see that wall differently. They see it as a door. And the only way to open it is to keep moving forward. When you feel like quitting, you've come too far to only come this far. You've already invested time, energy, and effort. Don't throw it all away for the temporary relief of stopping, because that relief is short-lived. Regret, that lasts much longer. So, how do you push through? 1. Break it down. Don't look at the entire mountain. Look at the next step. When you focus on the next small action, the journey doesn't feel so heavy. 2. Remind yourself of your why. Why did you start? What was the vision? What's the goal you saw in your mind when you began? Reconnect with it. Feel it again. 3. Make a deal with yourself. Tell yourself, I'll give it one more day, one more try, one more push. That one more can turn into the breakthrough you've been waiting for. There's a story I'll never forget. A prospector during the gold rush dug for months without success. Frustrated, he quit and sold his equipment to another man. That man picked up where he left off and struck gold 3 feet later. 3 feet. The difference between quitting and success was just a few more swings of the pickaxe. How many people stop right before the gold? When you want to quit, think of your future self. The one who either says, I'm glad I kept going, or the one who says, I wish I had. One will thank you. The other will haunt you. I'm not telling you it's easy. I'm telling you it's worth it. Pain is temporary. Frustration is temporary. Fatigue is temporary. But the pride of finishing, that stays forever. So next time you feel like quitting, remember, it's not a sign to stop. It's a test to see how badly you want it. Push through, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because the moment you refuse to quit is the moment you prove to yourself that you're unstoppable. You know what's exciting? Starting. That rush of energy. That spark in your chest. That feeling of this is it. This time it's going to work. We all love the beginning, the fresh notebook, the new gym membership, the first chapter of a big idea. But here's the harsh truth. Starting doesn't make you successful. Finishing does. I had to learn this the hard way. Years ago, I was the king of unfinished projects. I'd start something, feel motivated, work for a while. Then, the excitement would fade. 1 week in, my big plan was collecting dust. A month later, I'd convinced myself it just wasn't the right time. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't thinking like a finisher. I was thinking like a starter. Here's the difference. A starter focuses on the feeling, the motivation, the idea. A finisher focuses on the commitment, the discipline, the end result. A starter asks, how do I feel right now? A finisher asks, what needs to be done today, no matter how I feel? Let me give you an example. I once met a runner training for a marathon. When I asked how she stayed committed, she said, "I don't decide whether to run today. I decided that months ago. I'm just following through." That's the finisher's mindset. The decision is already made. The only question is, what's the next step? See, starters stop when they're tired. Finishers stop when they're done. A starter looks for excitement. A finisher looks for progress. A starter quits when it gets hard. A finisher expects it to get hard and keeps going anyway. I had to rewire my thinking. Here's what I changed. I stopped chasing motivation. Motivation is like the weather. Good some days, bad other days. You can't build a life on something that changes every morning. I set deadlines and made them non-negotiable. When you have to finish by a certain time, you find a way. Without deadlines, later becomes never. I focused on the boring stuff. Yes, boring. Because the boring stuff is where finishing happens. Making calls, showing up, editing, refining, improving over and over. I started visualizing the finish line. Not the start, not the middle. The moment I crossed that line and it's done. That mental picture became my fuel. You need to understand something important. Finishing is a skill. It's not just about talent or luck. It's something you train yourself to do. When you learn to finish, your confidence explodes. You trust yourself. You stop making empty promises. You stop living in almost. Because here's the sad reality. Most people are experts at almost. They almost start. They almost finish. They almost live the life they want. But the finisher plays a different game. They don't care about being the fastest starter. They care about being the one still moving when everyone else has stopped. If you want to think like a finisher, here's the mindset shift. Expect the dip. There will be a moment when the fun wears off, when the work feels heavy, when you question if it's worth it. That's normal. That's the signal you're entering the finisher zone. Measure the work, not the feeling. Your progress is not about how good you feel. It's about whether you're getting closer to the goal. Make quitting harder than continuing. Tell people your deadline. Put money on the line. Create stakes so high that stopping would be painful. I used to think success was about starting faster than everyone else. Now I know. It's about being the one still standing at the end. And here's the secret. The last part of the race, it's not the strongest who win. It's the ones who simply refuse to stop. So the next time you start something, ask yourself, am I here to get excited? Or am I here to finish? Because excitement fades, but the pride of finishing, that stays with you forever. Discipline is the bridge between starting and finishing. It's the secret that separates the dreamers from the achievers. And yet it's misunderstood. Most people think discipline is about motivation. They wait to feel like it. They believe a surge of energy or inspiration will carry them to the finish line. It won't. Never has. Never will. I learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, I was working on a project that could have changed my life. I was excited at first, full of ideas and energy. The first week flew by, the second week too. Then, slowly, the excitement faded. I found myself making excuses. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm too tired today. I need more information before I can continue. I wasn't lazy, I just lacked discipline. I thought passion alone could carry me through. It couldn't. Discipline is not punishment. It's a commitment, a daily decision to show up, no matter how you feel, to do the work, even when it's uncomfortable. It's the difference between someone who has a great idea and someone who makes it happen. Here's the truth. No one finishes without discipline. I began to understand that discipline is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more you use it. The first few weeks are hard. Every day feels like a battle. You have to fight yourself constantly. But then something remarkable happens. Showing up becomes easier. The resistance fades. The work starts to feel natural. Discipline becomes inevitable. Not because you're motivated, not because you feel like it, but because it's who you've trained yourself to be. Here's how I built my own finishing discipline. 1. Commit to small daily actions. I stopped thinking about finishing the whole project at once. Instead, I focused on small, consistent actions. Write one page. Make one call. Take one step forward. These small actions compound. Before long, the project moves forward without friction. 2. Remove distractions before they appear. I stopped relying on willpower alone. I removed distractions from my environment. Phone notifications off. Unnecessary tabs closed. A clear workspace. When you create space for discipline, it flows naturally. 3. Establish non-negotiable routines. I created habits that became automatic. Morning writing, daily planning, weekly review of goals. Discipline becomes inevitable when it's embedded in your daily rhythm. 4. Make your work visible. I kept a chart, a journal, a progress tracker. Seeing your progress fuels your discipline. It's hard to stop when the evidence of your effort is staring back at you. Let me share a personal story. Years ago, I had a vision for a book I wanted to write. At first, I wrote a few chapters. Then life got busy. I got tired. I doubted myself. But I committed to one disciplined action each day, writing 500 words, no matter what. Some days it was brilliant. Some days it was terrible. Some days I didn't even feel like it. But I did it anyway. And eventually, I had a finished book. Discipline turned a dream into reality. Here's a critical insight. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up when no one is watching. It's about doing the work, even when it's uncomfortable, boring, or inconvenient. Most people quit in that space, the uncomfortable middle. But the finisher thrives there. They know that the finish line is forged in the quiet, unseen hours. Discipline also teaches patience. You don't finish a marathon in one sprint. You don't master a skill in one day. You don't build a business in 1 week. You finish by showing up every day, even when it's hard, even when progress is slow, even when it feels like no one notices. This is the mindset that makes finishing inevitable. Finally, discipline breeds confidence. When you consistently follow through, you start trusting yourself. You know you can finish because you already have. Your self-belief becomes unshakable. And that confidence carries you through every project, every challenge, every goal. If you want to finish what you start, understand this. Discipline is your most powerful tool. It's not sexy. It's not fun. It's not glamorous. But it works every single time. So stop waiting for motivation. Stop relying on feelings. Stop hoping for inspiration. Decide today. Decide to show up. Decide to do the work. Decide to be disciplined. Because when discipline becomes your habit, finishing becomes inevitable. And once you finish, everything changes. Your confidence, your skills, your life. Finishing isn't just an act. It's a habit, a mindset, a standard. Most people start things. They have ideas. They set goals. They dream about the future. But few actually finish. And that's why few achieve greatness. I've learned that finishing is a muscle. And like any muscle, it must be trained. You can't sprint a marathon. You can't expect to finish if you haven't practiced the habit. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I committed to writing a series of motivational talks. I started with energy, with fire, with a vision. But midway, life threw challenges my way. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The first instinct? Quit. Throw it all away. Tell myself it wasn't the right time. But then I remembered the discipline I had built, the habits I had formed, the small steps I had already taken. I decided to finish. One chapter at a time, one day at a time. Sometimes only 200 words. Sometimes only an outline. But I kept moving. Months later, the project was complete. It wasn't perfect, but it was done. And the moment I finished, the feeling was indescribable. Pride, confidence, validation, a quiet, unshakable knowledge that I could finish. Here's the thing. Finishing isn't about speed. It's about persistence. It's about setting the bar high for yourself and refusing to lower it. When you make finishing your standard, everything changes. You stop starting and stopping. You stop wasting energy on half-done projects. You stop living in almost. You become a person who completes, who sees things through, who finishes what they start. So how do you make finishing your new standard? 1. Decide now that you will finish. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Decide that, no matter what, you will see it through. 2. Break projects into milestones. Finishing can feel overwhelming. When the mountain is huge, it's easy to stop. So break it down. Celebrate each small victory. Each milestone builds momentum. 3. Train your discipline daily. Discipline is the backbone of finishing. Small, consistent actions every day make finishing inevitable. Even 10 minutes of work is better than nothing. Even a tiny step forward counts. 4. Visualize the finish line. See it clearly in your mind. Feel the pride of completion. Imagine the relief, the growth, the recognition. Use that image as fuel when your energy wanes. I've seen people fail because they start too many things. They chase excitement. They follow trends. They hop from idea to idea. But finishers, they have a different mindset. Finishers measure themselves by their ability to see things through. They don't quit because they're tired, scared, or uncertain. They've built the habits, the discipline, and the mindset to finish every time. Here's a simple truth. Your life is the sum of your finished projects, not the ones you started, not the ones you dreamed about, not the ones you almost completed. The wins, the lessons, the growth they come from finishing. Let me share another story. A young man wanted to start a business. He had the idea, the plan, the energy. But when the first setbacks came, he almost quit. I told him, if you finish what you start, you'll be unstoppable. If you don't, you'll always wonder what could have been. He stuck with it. Through failures, through doubt, through exhaustion. Years later, he's thriving. The business is successful. The vision realized, all because he made finishing his standard. There's a critical mindset shift here. Finishers think differently. They don't ask, will this be easy? They ask, will I finish? They don't measure progress by excitement or inspiration. They measure it by actions, consistency, effort, completion. They know that discomfort, setbacks, and fatigue are part of the journey. They don't let these stop them. They let them strengthen them. Finishing also builds self-trust. Every time you finish, you prove to yourself, I am capable. I am reliable. I am consistent. Not. That trust compounds over time. Soon, you believe in yourself even when no one else does. You stop needing external validation. You stop doubting your abilities. You become unstoppable. Here's another truth. Finishing is contagious. When others see you complete what you start, they are inspired. They respect you. They follow your example. Be the person who finishes, not the person who talks about starting, not the person who dreams about success, the person who sees it through to the end. So, how do you make finishing your new standard? Decide to finish. Break it into milestones. Build discipline every day. Visualize the end. Trust yourself. Ignore the noise. Keep moving forward. Do these consistently, and finishing won't be an occasional act, it'll be who you are. The world is full of starters. Excited, inspired, motivated, until they're not. But finishers create. Finishers build. Finishers win. Finishers leave a legacy. Every finished project, every goal completed, every promise kept, these become the building blocks of your life. And the more you finish, the higher your standard becomes. The bar keeps rising. And the next challenge, you meet it with confidence, knowing you will finish again. Remember this, starting is easy. Finishing is everything. Decide today that you will finish. Make it your standard. Live it daily. Because when you finish what you start, you stop wondering what could have been. You stop living in almost. You stop doubting yourself. You become someone who delivers, someone unstoppable, someone who leaves a mark. Finishing isn't just an action. It's your identity. Make it yours. And once you do, there's nothing in the world you can't complete. As we come to the close of this journey, there's one truth I want you to carry with you. Finishing is everything. It's not the ideas you have that define you. It's not the plans you make. It's not even the dreams you dream. It's what you see through to the end. You see, life rewards the finisher, not the starter, not the one who gives up when the first challenge appears, but the one who keeps moving forward, the one who continues, even when the excitement fades, the one who shows up day after day, committed to completion. Think about all the projects you've started in your life. How many of them have been left unfinished? The half-written reports, the abandoned goals, the almosts, and the not quites. Now imagine what your life could look like if you finished just one of those. Now imagine if you finished them all. Finishing transforms you. It builds confidence. It builds trust in yourself. It builds results. And results build momentum. Momentum is powerful. Once you experience the satisfaction of finishing, you don't want to go back. You want to do it again and again and again. Let me remind you, discipline is the tool. Persistence is the practice. Vision is the fuel. And finishing is the result. Every time you complete something you started, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you are capable. You prove that you are reliable. You prove that you can trust yourself to follow through. This is the foundation of character, of achievement, of a life well lived. Here's another truth. Finishing isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's tedious. Sometimes it's boring. But the finisher knows the value of the unseen work. The late nights, the early mornings, the quiet hours when no one is watching, these are the moments where victories are won. And once you finish, the sense of accomplishment is unlike anything else. It's deep, quiet, and lasting. It stays with you. It becomes a part of who you are. So, how do you take this into your life? Start today. Choose one project, one goal, one commitment. Decide, no matter what, I will see this through. Take small, consistent steps. Stay disciplined. Visualize the finish line. Celebrate each milestone. And when challenges arise, and they will remember this, every obstacle is an opportunity to strengthen your finishing muscle. Every difficulty is a test of your commitment. Every temptation to quit is a chance to prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. Over time, finishing becomes your identity. It's no longer something you do. It's who you are. You become a person that others respect. A person who can be relied upon. A person who delivers. And here's the beauty of it. Once you make finishing your standard, you start to achieve things that once seemed impossible. You start to reach goals that once felt out of reach. You start to live a life that is not defined by almost, but by completion. So I leave you with this challenge. Don't just start. Finish. Don't just dream. Deliver. Don't just talk about it. Take action. See it through. And prove to yourself every single day that you are capable. Because life rewards the finisher. And when you finish, you change. You grow. You rise. And eventually, finishing becomes more than an action. It becomes your standard, your identity, your legacy. Remember, the next time you begin something, ask yourself, can I finish this? Can I see it through? Can I make this my standard? If the answer is yes, then start. And start knowing that you will finish. Because when you finish what you start, you don't just complete a task, you transform your life. And that, my friend, is the true power of finishing.